And welcome back for this very special Thanksgiving edition of our show. I'm Levi.
I'm Jacoby.
And I'm Joe. Gobble gobble.
And this is the Thought Vessel. Again, welcome to the show.
Woohoo, Thanksgiving! Stuffing!
Remember, we celebrate Thanksgiving before Christmas.
Do not skip my turkey day.
So,
Isn't that a bit like a leg day?
was your guys' house when you were growing up, we're putting out the Christmas tree? Like, when did that go up?
December 5th.
December 5th. Why December 5th?
Because I threw a hissy fit if we skipped Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving on December 4th?
No, we don't set up immediately the day after Thanksgiving. We enjoy Thanksgiving.
But the day after Thanksgiving isn't Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday. Got to get them sales.
Yeah, that's another reason we didn't set up anything for Christmas. We had other shit to do.
Yeah. My family, we did, in fact, set up right after Thanksgiving because as my family, Christmas started once you saw Santa at the Thanksgiving Day Parade.
There
in
you
New
go.
York.
That makes sense. I respect that. Like, my family, we're definitely probably the weekend after Thanksgiving, kind of setting that up. It just depends on if we were going to go and get a Christmas tree, like a real one, or if we were going to get a fake one, kind of a thing. I have memories of doing both. Hated the real ones because we always get like the trees with like the super prickly pine needles. So I kept stabbing myself as I was putting on the ornaments.
Look, you will always stab yourself, real or fake. I have the scars to prove it.
You guys always had a real tree? Must be nice.
It wasn't all the time. Honestly, I prefer the
mine was
artificial
fake
one.
all the time.
Oh, okay.
I grew up with just fake tree.
We had them for a few years, and then like we realized that like we just did not. No one liked going, so like we just kind of stopped doing it.
So the reason it would be like the 4th or by around the 5th, most of the time we needed a week after Thanksgiving and also Black Friday to reset.
That's fair. My wife Sarah's family, yes, her birthday's on the 7th. She had a strict rule that no one could celebrate Christmas until after her birthday, so they would have to wait until December 8th when she was a kid.
No celebrate right now.
See, I'm December 29th.
So you're in it, man.
I'm just sitting here. That's the other thing. The reason it waited so late is because there's a lot more prep for Christmas when we get to that season. Like, everyone takes weeks off. There's an entire week of and like before, after Christmas where everyone's at the house. No one really goes anywhere. It's just each other's company.
Unlike my birthday in January, where you get everything that didn't sell on Christmas, that's when it's on sale then.
Hey, that's a pretty good deal, though.
I mean, yes-ish. It's in the same strain. If your birthday is like even within that month after Christmas, it's kind of just, but you just got gifts. But my birthday, though.
Yeah,
You wouldn't say this if my birthday was in June.
Yeah, were you a half birthday kid? Did your family do that? Like do something in July?
Not really.
No.
No. They specifically still celebrated my birthday. And every 4 years when I was living in DC, I got it off.
There you go.
So, my birthday was never celebrated independently of Christmas.
I feel like a lot of people have it that way. I had a buddy of mine growing up that his birthday was on Christmas.
Rough.
You get everyone super excited for Christmas, then you have like an awkward little like singing for a cake, and then you go back to Christmas stuff year round. That's awful.
Especially
It happens
because,
to me too. Ugh.
yeah, and especially if it is on Christmas, and then you're just like doing the whole Christmas story and having to go out for Chinese food for your fancy dinner.
That being said, back to the idea of enjoying Thanksgiving beforehand, though. Shout out to anyone who does Friendsgiving.
Friendsgivings are great.
Friendsgivings are phenomenal.
I was able to do it once in college, and I completely botched my mom's recipe for shepherd's pie because I was following the recipe to a T, and all it said was put the potatoes on top of the thing, and she got me these instant au gratin potatoes.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
So I put the potatoes on top of the thing. Nowhere did it say cook the potatoes.
Oh, jeez.
Proud of you. This year, I'm missing a Friendsgiving down south. Shout out to you, Siobhan. I know you're listening. Appreciate you and love you. We normally did in the south, it was a crawfish boil type deal for a few people's birthdays and then for Friendsgiving. This year, I think they're doing like a whole turkey. It's going to be cool.
Very Cajun.
Very Cajun.
Very Cajun.
Very Louisiana.
But with this, of course, Thanksgiving, we are here with our Thanksgiving special episode. It's always a good time of year, regardless of if you feel like the origin of Thanksgiving, but having a day just to be thankful for what you have around you is always good. It's an optimistic way to look at the world, especially during these times. What I will say is there's a lot of things we can be thankful for in the world of magic that we've had, especially this year. Obviously there has been some the bad and the magic, and we'll definitely get into that in a later episode. I guarantee you that. But today we're going to stay on the optimistic side, and we're going to go over what we are thankful for in the world of magic. Jacoby, would you like to start us off?
This year, I am thankful that my secret layer guess was spot on from the earlier episodes. I got me my holy grail, my sweet, sweet bunny. I'm putting my credit on my guess. I don't care if it was planned 2 years in advance. I called it.
3.
Well, if we didn't know about it, it's fine. We don't have inside information to wizards.
No, it's specifically 3 years in advance, because that's why they had to update the cycle for standard for 3, because they were going to be adding in the Universes Beyond stuff, which means that all of the Universes Beyond has been like 3 years in advance.
All I'm saying is, I got my bunny. I said, oh, what was one of my 5 layers? Holy grail. We got there.
We, in fact, did get there.
We did get there. Joe, what are you thankful for?
Gev Scaled Scorch. That card particularly. That card, as I've said before, brings me back to when I first got into Magic. It is the exact thing that I loved doing when I was first being taught Magic, when I first built my own deck, was just the do damage, make creature big. And it was always an interesting deck to me. And it was very interesting to learn a deck that you pretty much skipped the first main phase in favor of doing combat damage so that your creatures get bigger to do more combat damage. And then Gev just comes out and brings me back to that place where everything is right where I was 14 years ago.
Proud of you.
Dating yourself, I see.
Look, I'm about to be 33. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Enjoy your knee replacement, old man. For those who have context,
There's
Joe
some-
is flipping me off.
There's some
Coo,
birds.
coo.
There's some birds in the studio.
Very specifically, I was very thankful for Gev Scaled Scorch to come out and present me that nostalgia, as well as present the exact thing I asked for literally during Modern Horizons 3 weekend, as Jacoby and I discussed it.
You got so lit all about it. You were just like, the card. And you just were like, we were talking about this before. Now it's a thing.
I've only known Gev for a few moments, but if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone and then myself. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Proud of you. All right, Levi, hit us with it.
For my first one here, the things I'm thankful for, some from earlier this year. A lot of people may have forgot about it, but we actually had a chance to host a panel at MagicCon Chicago, especially for a podcast at our size. Being able to host something like that was incredible. It was nice to be able to meet some of you in person. Of course, we did our Am I the Arch Enemy live and in person, went over some different topics. We had a fantastic time, but being able to just kind of join the conversation and be a part of it versus just being a spectator all the time was really neat.
You liked us. You really liked us.
Most people liked us.
At least you tolerated us.
There was laughs. The laughs did, in fact, indicate that they were enjoying themselves.
There were some people silently judging, but it's fine.
Fingers crossed that next year's Thanksgiving can have more of that.
Especially with us planning to go to Vegas, specifically because it is going to be the Final Fantasy Vegas, as well as just getting a MagicCon in Atlanta so that we don't have to fly anywhere. We could just drive.
It's great,
Finally, somewhere walkable.
but it's phenomenal. And of course, I'm thankful for the return of Magic the Gathering themed conventions in Charlotte for this upcoming year, because we're actually having a SEGCon Charlotte that is occurring. So not necessarily in the Magic area, but just in the conventions as a whole. That's very exciting to see.
It's been like 2 years since the last one.
Yeah, we for some reason 2024 they just took a year off. Nothing was in Charlotte. I mean, we had Collecticon, which was like it was anime and Pokemon and sports trading card memorabilia. So it's more of just collecting than actually playing. You would not be able to play a game at Collecticon. It was cool. I met Chuck Norris, had a great time. Not a MagicCon or a SCGCon, but I would say the conventions, doing the panel, big dose of gratitude there. Jacoby.
I'm gonna take one of the spots here with a card like Joe did. I am thankful heir apparent.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
My little king lad. My one F-bomb for my boy.
Whoa there. Don't just say you're one.
No,
I know
that's the only,
you.
That's the only one I'm gonna get to keep.
No, you're not. 100% you're not able to keep that one.
How dare
The editing god said no.
the audacity that you would plagiarize my boy like that.
It's not even plagiarizing.
It's censorship.
It's censorship.
Plagiarism because you're stealing it from me.
No, it's not.
Now, if he edited out and then put his own in there,
That's
then
what
that would've been
that's what I'm
plagiarism.
anticipating. Yes.
No, I'm not. I'm not even going to do that. Why would I do that? It's more work.
It's a fair point.
because you're petty.
No.
That was a lie. Joe is very petty.
Joe is extremely petty.
While I am petty, I'm not that petty to do more work that I'm just going to have to edit out anyway because we're trying to be more family friendly.
Maximum efficiency petty.
You know what? I would actually probably be the only one who is that petty. Fair enough.
Hey. But yeah, no, heir apparent, 100%. Recently, I got the itch to play on Arena and play standard. And I, in fact, invoked the meme of playing 40 heir apparent in 20 planes. And you'd be surprised. It wins more games than you'd think it would.
See, when I was running just the heir apparents, there was so much removal.
That's always the given. That's
No.
why you keep playing them.
Keep them coming.
No. Like, I kept playing it and they just kept removing one of them every turn.
Correct.
Yes, that's what's gonna happen. You just gotta keep doing it.
It's a whack-a-bunny
There's
in
a
there.
lot of removal that's just creatures and they kill you anyways.
I mean, that also happens. Truthfully, it's really interesting to just see the planes and just keeps going. And if they understand what you're doing, that's when a lot of the removal comes out immediately. But then you're just like, okay, here's another one. And especially if they don't have any draw engines and are just focusing on the heir apparent, you will outpace them at some point.
Something's going to give.
I don't know, man. I haven't gotten it to work once.
But I've also seen heir apparent decks on Arena work, and they do the actual legitimate strategy of, well, I'm going to have Delny in there so that they're just going to get through, regardless of if you want them to or not.
And they'll double.
There's also literally, and I got by this with the mirror match, it's a exile board wipe from March of the Machine. It's one of those sets with the Phyrexians where it exiles all creatures and then you incubate that much.
Yeah, big boy.
Yeah, because when you heir apparent and they also like do a big board of their own, you gotta deal with it somehow. Big boy.
Yeah.
Heir apparent.
Good
Yeah, so
turn.
that card is Sunfall, aka Make Peace with Your God.
But we also know exactly why you like heir apparent.
Money.
Of course it's funny.
Big
Funny.
fan of the bunnies. All right,
The
Joe,
art is also banger.
what do you think?
One of the most recent things that I'm thankful for is actually with this podcast. I'm thankful for getting all of our stuff up to snuff with videos to get them up onto YouTube.
Yes.
You stole mine. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
That was a huge overtaking, but I'm glad we were able to get it done.
Adderall
Read-
helped me the entire way.
I respect it. Do what you gotta do.
100%. I'm thankful for that 100%. Like, that is this podcast in and of itself, our friendship, being able to give you guys something to hopefully enjoy, just enjoying this ourselves. I couldn't be more thankful for my boys here.
Aw, bitch.
Yeah, I said it.
How endearing.
It was an undertaking, and getting it up to where it is now, it's now an even easier process to try and finish it on the podcast editing for audio on Wednesday very early so that I can get the render done to get that scheduled for the Thursdays at 10 and do a nice little fancy, here's where I edited the end of the audio, or even just the image that you see that's just a static one throughout the whole thing. It was a lot easier than I gave myself credit for with just that kind of baseline. It was just doing it at that point was
Yeah.
the hurdle.
Makes sense.
And in the future, we may even look to expand beyond that. As the popularity grows, maybe we look at adding the cards to the screen and stuff like that. But we're on baby steps here.
I think the main thing is akin to something that I watch because I watch a whole lot of static image, whether it be like a D&D game like Joe Cat's Heart of Valinthi or any of his other games, or specifically Tales from the Stinky Dragon, where they have the static images of the characters that they're playing, but they do nice little light ups of their speaking right then and there.
Fingers crossed we can work towards that. We don't have a concrete future plan, but there are things we're working on for sure in some of those veins. But more on that on a much later date.
Smaller shout out, thankful for Blender being free,
Thank you, Blender, for being free.
Shout out to Blender. Not sponsored.
but they
Not
could.
paid.
Not sponsored, not paid.
I will give you money, Blender, if you give us money back.
An equal transaction.
Blender would just look at us, maidenless.
Would that be considered a charitable contribution for donating to our asses?
Yes.
Hit us up, Blender. Let's go.
Well, Levi,
Let's make it happen. Bad accounting advice.
All right, hit us with that next one, Levi.
I am thankful for standard and expanding to 3 years. I think being able to cover more ground and have more synergies in between the sets, I think it could be really cool. I'm more interested in standard with a longer stretch. I think the power level of that format is going to go up just because cards stay in for longer and you have more of a chance of things interacting with each other. But I'm really appreciative for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. Of course, with Foundations being a 5-year stretch, so that's a little bit confusing.
it's because it's supposed to be a core set. They understood that the core set dynamic of it being like a yearly thing wasn't really doing the things that they wanted it to do. But Foundations just saying, well, this is now going to be standard for 5 years. And instead of us continuing to think of a new set to bring to you every year, we just had this one set of everything that we want as a baseline for standard going. And in 5 years' time, we'll come back to it and say, well, what things were kind of still an issue within that set? Maybe some cards that we designed specifically for that set. Maybe Niv Mizzet, or even bring in different cards that they had ideas for that would also go well with a standard environment.
I mean, it's gonna be wild though. Like if you don't get a chance to reprint those cards for a long period of time, because like Hair Parent's already up to like $3, $4, $5, sometimes say $7. If you're trying to build one of those decks, you're in for some world of hurt.
I sure am.
Jacoby.
I'm going to build it in every legal format.
Okay,
And it looks like a lot of fun.
you will at least be able to build it easier on Arena because you only need 4 common wild cards.
I already built it on most of the formats. The only one exception is Brawl. I haven't figured out which Brawl deck to put it with yet.
Just remember, if you're not playing in sanctioned events, Wizards okays proxies.
Yeah, but I was talking about on Arena. You can't proxy in Arena.
But you just said other formats, like maybe Commander.
Oh, yeah, no. And
You could do it in Oathbreaker.
yeah.
Oh my God, I can see it now. It's just Elspeth Oathbreaker.
How did you know?
No, it's not.
What?
It's Whatley.
Oh boy.
It is Selesnya, Hair Parent, Whatley.
The
I
one that
see.
people say is bad.
Well, yeah, well, loyalty counter. I'll just go put 15 loyalty counters in this thing and get this emblem really, really soon. So I'm going to draw a bunch of cards and do all the gross.
That's all going to be
Selesnya
Hair
token
Parents.
things.
All of it.
Teferi's Protection as the signature spell.
I was going to actually do the mass reanimate for anything
Oh, that
2 or
also
less.
works.
So if any situation you get board wipe, they're just coming back. It's going to happen. Like there's nothing you could do about it. And hell, you could do like Spider Silk Armor in the deck. Make them all like 1/2s with reach. No one's touching Whatley.
Make up 1/2s with Reach and Vigilance.
Say, Oathbreaker is interesting. You can do some really weird stuff. Just stop trying to solve it, and it's good.
Yeah, I'm going to have your help with that one.
Oh, well, we'll definitely brew.
Yeah,
But,
we'll definitely brew.
Jacoby, it is on to you for your third. What are you thankful for?
We mentioned so many that I share. I think the last thing I am most thankful for at this very moment is that we've made plans for conventions. We've managed to stick together on this podcast. We've managed to try to have some kind of positive influence on most people, despite my bad mannered language. Joe.
It's coming out.
I'm thankful for some of these sets, specifically Final Fantasy. I cannot even describe my level of elation when we go to Vegas.
A moment of silence for Jacoby's wallet whenever Final Fantasy drops.
Boy.
Screw the wallet. Put a rip in chat for my savings.
Rip and chat for the credit score.
My credit score might go up as long as I can balance it.
Your wallpaper is just about to be the commons from the set.
You have no idea.
It's going to be crazy. You're going to have to find every serialized card.
They probably would serialize this too, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would.
This is one of the only sets in all of Magic, I think, that future and past for me, unless something else unspeakable happens, where I will actively seek serialized cards.
Specifically, I think with that set in particular, they will serialize and do like how the doctors were, where they serialized it as 500 and their
Mhm.
number as a doctor, but do that for the Final Fantasy games that they came from.
Yeah, what was that all about? It seemed like every set we were getting serialized and they just stopped. And then like randomly we'll get an Edgar Markov serialized or
I think they were getting the idea out there. They ran enough of them to get an active pool of like, okay, this is how popular it can be or will be. So they're picking and choosing for like universe beyonds because they're going to look at Lord of the Rings was a good example where the One Ring was a good pick for that.
As well as the numbers of soul rings as well. The last time that they did serialize was, I believe, Ravnica Remastered.
was Assassin's Creed after Ravnica Remastered? Because we did get some serialized like Socrates and some of those other characters.
Yes, I do remember that now. Those also got serialized.
Yeah, but they're mostly saving it for mediums with popular universes,
Yeah.
it seems. Ravnica is a popular place in the universe.
I am glad they're cooling it a little bit with those, to be honest, because when they were printing them out as much as they were, when they first came out, they were all like hundreds of dollars. And then they started trickling down over time because they're like, if this is going to be every set, none of these are special. So now they're kind of saving a little bit. So like if you pull a serialized, like it's actually something to really be excited about.
I can see it only trickling down like maybe 5%. Because even then, with the serialized, they were still unique arts every time they did the serialized.
Not always.
And I will say, as long as all of the good popular characters are all legendary creatures, I'm going to have so many decks.
Oh, yeah, I know. Literally online, I saw someone was like, I'm going to make a Noctis deck. And I am going to bet that their Espers, like, none of these have come out. What?
My brother in Magic, we have literally seen art. Relax.
No, relax. Only build in mind.
I will say, though, if we get like Titus and Yuna and Auron and XY, if we get all of the main characters from all these games as legendary creatures, I'm going to have a great time, but I'm about to have a bad time.
Yeah.
Depending on how good they can be, it will replace everything that's not a Krug Thrasios deck in my box.
I am, in fact, calling it now. I'm going to build Balthier.
Oh, I'm absolutely built. I'm hoping that the Final Fantasy X squad works together cohesively because I would love to build a deck and just have all of them in there. Full pilgrimage.
Also, Sid Kindred.
Yes.
I need it to be a Give me the Sid Kindred.
Also,
I need the Sid that will paint Wooburg so I can play all of the Sids.
Also, if for whatever reason we do not get class cards out of that set, I will be extraordinarily peeved.
Oh, yeah. 100%. They should be doing.
If I do not get all of my mage colors, I will make a note to contact Wizards and go, what is wrong with you?
Maybe not Blue Mage.
No, Blue Mage especially.
Maybe not Blue Mage.
No, Blue Mage especially.
I'm curious to see what they do with the art from like the Final Fantasy 1 because it was all just really pixelated. Would they just try to
Up till 6 was also pixelated.
so like
And
would you
we've
just-
already seen character from 6 not be pixelated.
So, with a lot of the older games, there are new renditions of their appearance, and they have older art in their original books of what the character is supposed to look like. I imagine we will get very simplistic, good art renditions of a dude who looks like he's doing taekwondo for the monk, because that's what they dress like.
Because I know for a fact that of all of the classes that you would want, I want Red Mage. Bar none. I need it in my life.
I need them to have them all. I don't want them to have black, red, green, white, and then skip on blue or skip on the other colors. Like, I just need them to have it all. Don't ruin my
Maybe
Nightmare
not
Before
blue.
Christmas. No, yes, blue.
I'd like a blue mage and a white mage. That sounds great.
So
That's not even the point.
Joe's
It's always
upsetting.
the point.
Joe's upsetting because blue mage is so the colors of mages do very different things. Blue mages absorb the monster skills. So, like, if they get hit with poison, they now know how to do poison.
Okay, but literally they made it a joke class in 14.
It's not a joke class. It just can't do main quest things.
Some would
Yeah.
say that makes it a joke.
Speaking of stealing people's abilities, Kimari is going to be a super fun commander, I'm sure.
I'm going to laugh if they make Sephiroth kind of lame as a card, or if they make Kefka lame as a card. That would be twisted irony.
And we're going to get some new dope equipment from it. I'm excited.
Really excited. God, give us classes. Continue, Joe.
I overprepared and had 4, but I think I can actually twist both of them into the same kind of being thankful.
My man out here getting a twofer?
Specifically, the friends that we have made through the podcast, as well as the help that we've done for the Southeast. Specifically working with Creators for Change and the other content creators in our space. Working with them, becoming friends with them, and pushing forward with our ideals, as well as with their friendship.
Yeah, I thought you were about to go. The treasure we had was the friends we made along the way.
It is, and you should say it every damn time.
If that is the treasure, I'm going to go ahead and tap and sacrifice. Add a blue.
Jesus Christ. Man, so
Friends don't
sorry.
sacrifice friends for blue, man. Jacoby.
Sorry that
coming from you for
sorry
real?
that your friend Collector Oof was here.
Yeah, uh-huh. Go ahead. Tell me all about that sorts. But no, for real. Thank you to Creators of Change for having us. Thank you for everyone we've got to ever have on our show, have them let us on their show or whatever event they're doing. It's been phenomenal.
We had Light, we had Defiant Cathar, our L. She's currently rebranding, getting a little away from Magic, which is sad but understandable. We have Keontae, Reversal Wizard. We have Kuro Hitsuki. Just so many to name. Beth, Queen of Cardboard, Arpeggio. Trying to rename them all off the cuff is really hard.
Trying casually.
Yes, JM. Can't forget JM. We can't forget Corey. There's been so many people that we have reached out to, we've interacted with, built connections with over the past year, and I only hope to make them stronger in the future.
Yeah, I hope we just keep getting the opportunity to be a positive impact on our community, in addition to being a type of insight that sometimes I envision we could be a little rougher on the edges with how much we dislike certain things. Some things are just egregious.
Certainly.
Yeah, so definitely me. But I also feel like as we progress, it becomes more apparent. If we have a rigid stance, it's for a good purpose. If we outright say this is an atrocity or this is bad and we don't flex, it's for a very good reason.
Which also, to date this, because episode 30, the ban list has come out, we also will sometimes forget combos exist, like Iona and Painter Servant.
And it's fine.
Well, mostly that combination in total has not been legal in Commander for decades.
Yeah.
Apologies, that was not top of mind.
Happens.
I don't care about Painter Servant. It's fine.
Yeah.
Painless last
That with
words.
Iona.
Also, it's a weird combo to go off of, since the biggest thing that you would think of with Painter Servant is Millstone or Grindstone. It's the one that cares if you mill the cards of the same color.
I think it's Grindstone.
Grindstone and Painter Servant was the bigger combo. That was the reason why Painter Servant was
Why don't we
banned
just Google this real quick so we look like we know what we're doing?
No, why would we do that? This is all staying in. I hope you understand.
Levi, why would we do anything that's not scuff?
It's all scuffed.
Silent.
It was Grindstone.
It was Grindstone. See? It's right there.
You did the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the topic being like thankful for all the people, I'm hoping into the next year we can find more ways to like interact with some more people on the podcast.
And we are certainly working towards that actively. Certainly reached out to several people at this point in time.
No spoilers.
Yeah, no
But we got some
spoilers.
exciting ones in the
Yeah,
pipeline.
you caught us slipping Ionia. You're not going to catch us slipping here on this.
Yeah. But specifically, I am in fact very thankful to the people in this community that have been beacons of hope, beacons of change. Just the fact of getting into the Lobby Pristine, Bobby Christine's server, to also shout her out, especially since over the past year she got diagnosed with cancer and has been fighting that and has just zapped a lot of her funds in going to places. She was unable to join the Birds of Paradise at Vegas this year because of the fight of cancer. But she should be in the last month of treatment and should be able to just beat cancer and be back in it 2025.
That's great.
Fingers crossed. And hopefully the next time we go to record, if there's any positive news on that, we can celebrate that as a part of maybe into the next month of December, maybe in the next month of January, whatever happens. But I'm rooting. I'm hoping and praying.
We'll keep you posted.
And then finally, can you top a thankful for friends?
I'm going to stay more focused on the magic side, and it might top friendship because I'm thankful for Magic Foundations. The set as a whole was incredible. You had your original kind of Gatewatch planeswalkers in there, obviously minus like Gideon, who was killed in the War of the Spark. No spoilers, I guess. But with that being said, I think because we've
Like
had
5-year-old spoiler at this point.
hey, some people are still like talking about the plot twist and the Sixth Sense and stuff. You've had so long to watch that, but
my brother in cardboard, War of the Spark is old enough that I'm pretty sure Mars is just barely able to understand words at that point. She now is like a full child, comes and hangs out with us.
a whole ass child. I think Magic Foundations, because we had a lot of just kind of a little bit too on the nose, kind of jokey stuff throughout the year, like the detective theme, and we had the Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So it's just nice having a set that was just, we're going to celebrate a lot of stuff from Magic's universe and just have it in the same set and bring back some of your characters. And not like we're going to put a cowboy hat on Rakdos, but just like, oh, this is a great, phenomenal character we're bringing back.
But I still liked the cowboy hat being on Rakdos.
I did too, but I feel like you didn't have to make the entire thing into an unset.
No, it's just me. I'm the only one who's willing to stand on business and say, screw that. Didn't like it at all.
Screw that results.
I still fucking loved it.
Like, don't get me wrong. I really liked the one commander deck that had none of them in it, but I just don't need Oko as a cowboy. I don't care. Rakdos with his cat is whatever. Tiny Bones being cute is already just a Tiny Bones thing.
And for me, it's really interesting because a lot of stuff just got washed away or forgotten. It was a set that was somewhat themed about like the American frontier and like the cowboy spaghetti western themed movies. We had Bonnie Paul, which was basically like Paul Bunyan, as a commander eligible creature that I think is seeing some play in some standard decks and stuff too. Because
it's
two big creature, real good.
It's real good.
But having all of that, and it was phenomenal getting a chance to get all this, but it was a set that you just had so many cowboy jokes like holy cow and all that nonsense. And we even forgot that there was a bunch of villains in the set. And it would have been really cool just to have a set which would just rotate around a lot of the villains of the multiverse in a way that made sense. Like, I just think that and obviously looking forward ahead, we're having Aether Drift, which is more like a race car themed set. It's just, we're losing a lot of just traditional boomer magic. And I really like that kind of stuff. Thankful for having Foundations while we can.
The issue with that, Levi, is that Aether Drift is about family.
Oh, God.
I do appreciate that Aether Drift also shows that Duretti was also desmart. And what he's doing is being a mechanic.
I would really like to have some of our classic villains return from their sealed fate in a way that is fun, and then they not just result to the same old formula for the story writing.
Now, granted, I think it's a daunting task for the writers to come up with fresh storylines when your cast is always subject to change. Because like if we use like Jace Beleren all the time, then people get sick and tired of Jace and they want somebody new.
Which is why a lot of people said that with the storyline this year, it was, and Jace was there. Because that's kind of what a lot of the storyline was. And Jace was there. Thunder Junction. And Jace was there. Duskborn. And Jace was there.
Why was Chase there?
And like with the plot and a lot of these things, it's hard because one, you have to come up with fresh storylines where the cast is always changing and the scene is always changing. You don't have a lot of consistency to build off of in like consecutive sets. Like you're going to go away from Ravnica for like 5 years and then we come back and then kind of see what they're up to. But it's a harder task to build off of. And I definitely sympathize for that. And it comes out like once every 3 months at the current rotation of what we were doing.
But to get back to the point of what we were actually trying to do was be thankful.
Yes.
Instead of bitch about what we see.
No, I want to be salty.
No, we're being thankful.
Yeah, I want to be salty.
But being thankful about Foundations is really good. It's a return to core sets, but in a way that it can stick around as a core set for longer.
That's fair. I picked one card and you take the whole set.
It's a fantastic set. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there. I like that it's Magic IP, no gimmick. It's been really nice having a non genre-inspired set for once and just to kind of get back to it.
Yeah.
So,
Though I will say the one interesting thing about foundations I'm not sure I like yet has just been the drafting that I've experienced is very not removal heavy. Not much in it at all. It's kind of
Mainly-
impressive.
Well, mainly because a lot of the removal is going to be in every other set because they've already printed some pretty good removal like Get Lost.
No, but
Yeah.
I said in draft format, like where you draft
Yeah.
it.
And it's hard because whatever you put into that set, you're going to have to deal with for 5 years.
Well, Stroke of Midnight's in that set, and that's pretty good removal.
I'm not
Maelstrom
saying
Pulse,
Maelstrom Pulse.
I'm not saying there's not any or bad removal. I'm just saying there's not a whole lot of it.
having a hard time finding it, which is fair.
that can be a thing, especially with how big Foundations was as far as a card pool.
It was big, for
Yeah.
sure. But with that, we have ourselves a little game.
Do you want to play a game?
Do you want to play a game?
So this is going to be an MTG this or that. And we're going to be looking at some of the new legends from Foundations compared to their counterparts or their original printings to kind of see which one we would prefer. So there's a lot of these characters were taken in entirely different directions. A lot of them were similar, and some of them I think could even be considered power craft. So it's kind of interesting to look at the characters as a whole and just kind of see, do we think they got better or worse?
Or you can deal with this, or you can deal with that. You can deal with this, or you can deal with that.
Now take a little bit of this and put it in a little bit of that.
So the first one we have, and this is a and why. So you have to give me your reasoning for this.
Ah, man, I have to show my work.
Yes, you have to show your work.
Such a teacher.
Almost like I have an education degree.
Ah,
First one is Coma World Eater or Coma Cosmic Serpent. For those of you that don't know, Coma the World Eater is this spell can't be countered. It's trample with Ward 4. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create 4 3/3 blue serpent creature tokens named Coma's Coil. The old one is Coma's Cosmos Serpent, which is this spell can't be countered as well. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Coma's Coil. Sacrifice another creature, choose one, tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. Or Coma Cosmos Serpent gains indestructible until end of turn. And of course, it's to note that Coma World Eater is an 8/12 and Coma Cosmos Serpent is a 6/6.
having trouble there, buddy?
I am. We're on the struggle bus.
Coma, Cosmos, Serpent.
Yeah.
Just separate. Just take a breath in between. Coma, Cosmos, Serpent.
Coma Cosmos Serpent.
There you go.
There we go. Just edit it everywhere. It's good.
But hear
All
me out. Jorge uno los dos on these.
Now, with these, of course, if you're running one as a commander, you're going to run the other one. They're both going in.
Mainly because the fact that the new one, just any damage gets through, you make 4 of them bitches.
When you think about it, it's at the same rate that the old Coma is. Once per upkeep in a standard 4-pod rotation, you're going to end up with 3 coils at the end of the day. The original Coma is going to get them earlier.
The original Coma is also stronger because it does still do something with them, even off the first one that you make, is now I have interaction for this. That's what that's for. Whereas the new one, they just kind of substituted being able to circumvent its abilities by just it not having Coma coils to just having it be Ward 4.
The way I look at it is, one, this is an 8/12. It's going to hit. There's going to be someone at the table that you can hit for sure. So it has the evasion to get through. The Ward 4, I think, is a lot harder to deal with than people give it credit for. Granted, Coma can sacrifice a coil to make himself indestructible, but that doesn't do as much against like a Path to Exile.
I can see that, yes. But there was the other ability of old Coma that was also just as helpful, which is, I'm going to stop you from your loop right now. I see that you have that Devoted Druid and want to do the untap shenanigans. How about this Coma coil gets sacrificed, so no.
I think if you were going to do the Devoted Druid thing for the most part, as soon as it's online, you're just going.
You'd likely do it before that they can put it online is the biggest thing. I could see other avenues, but that's where my mind immediately went.
Sending out the abilities is good. And obviously, these are both phenomenal cards. I just think that if I was going to put one like in the command zone, I think right now, I don't know if Coma World Eater is going to get as much hate as original Coma does, because I think the original Coma has a bit of a boogeyman effect right now. And I think just having that proactive 8/12 of a trample, especially if I'm going to be doing normal Coma commander things like cloning it a bunch of times and doing stuff like that, I think having that trampling army with the Ward 4 that's harder to get rid of is a bit more daunting than making 1 per upkeep. Especially if I start killing people, I'd rather just hit somebody, get 4 than have to worry about keeping everyone alive for rotation.
Now, hear me out. Hilarious group slug idea. Coma World Eater, assault suit. Just everyone has coils. It would be so hilarious.
It would be fun for one rotation until you swing back at the person who made 4/3/3
Yeah.
and just blocks and kills your thing.
He can't block and kill it. He can
Because you're gonna
kind of kill it. Yeah, that's
yeah.
fine.
So
There's
like
4 of them.
you got to block.
I
with,
don't
like,
know
one
why
or
I was
two.
thinking 3, but it's still funny.
It is funny.
Just give it indestructible. You'll be fine. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Stop you?
I did put one in 6th Doctor, and I'm looking forward to casting it.
Yeah, I'm not.
I do think it is phenomenal. I'm on the boat right now of if I had to pick between the two to brew a deck, I want to do Coma World Eater.
I think I'm still sticking with old Coma, specifically because it has interaction on top of just making the things, whereas the new one is very hard to get rid of and can make more of them all at once, but that's kind of it. The interaction is kind of the biggest reason to play the OG Coma, and I think that's still more valuable than just hit once, make 4 coils.
Well, I'm going to consistently do. And of course, I'm looking more on the scale of obviously just making a bunch of them and things like that. So that's totally fair. Granted, if you're running one, you're running both. I don't see very many decks that are only going to use one of these.
Yeah, I would much rather the one that has interaction point on it in the command zone, that if somebody does deal with it, I can easily get it back. Quotey fingers easily, because they're still huge.
That's totally fair. Having candy counter on both of them is ridiculous.
I still want the new one. Ward 4, 8, 12.
I think it's great, but obviously both of them are phenomenal. That's probably the hardest debate. The next one here is Alesha who laughs at fate or Alesha who smiles at death. I'll start with Alesha who laughs at fate. Here is a 2/2 first striker for 1 a red and a black, or 1 a black and a red. So we're losing a color here. It's a 2/2 first striker. Whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. At the beginning of your end step, if you attacked this turn, return to creature card with mana value less than or equal to Alesha's power from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, interestingly enough, a lot of the updated legends from this set kind of lost a color or just maintained where they were at.
No one gained.
Yeah, no one really gained.
And then I'll just quickly read off Alesha who smiles at death just to have that as well. Alesha smiles at death is 2 in a red. It is a 3/2 first striker. Whenever Alesha who smiles at death attacks, you may pay 2 hybrid mana that is a white-black. If you do, return target creature card with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. So Alesha who smiles at death is going to be, or we'll call it old Alesha, is a bit more of a lower to the ground aggro type of build because you're bringing in these smaller creatures, but they come in attacking right away. And then you have a more of a, almost like a harder reanimate strategy with Alesha who laughs at fate. So you lose the white, but you can bring in a lot bigger of things.
I don't think it's a harder reanimation strategy because it only cares about Alesha's power to do that. And they did put an ability to keep pumping her up every turn, but this is just, I'm going to keep getting like any kind of pump effect from creatures, or even just do the Voltron strategy to make sure that I put these big creature into my yard with Entomb and then immediately get it back out with Alesha being huge.
Although using combat tricks to pump up Alesha to reanimate is
I was going to go
spicy.
there, yeah. I was like sitting here, I'm like, just discard stuff and then just Titan Strength and one other one. Yeah, no toughness, but also gain 6 power. I would like this 8 cost thing, please.
Well, you got first strike, so I'm not as worried about the toughness.
Also, specifically, her ability only cares if somebody attacks. So you don't even need to attack with Alesha. You could just keep pumping her up really big and
Keep
then
her
get
safe.
something back that may have died during combat too.
You just have the goblins that just make an attacking dude every turn and just keep resurrecting stuff out of your yard.
A couple other differences here. One, I don't have to put any more mana into Alesha. As soon as it's out, it's going. Like, I don't have to pay that extra 2 every single turn. I can allocate that in other places. Especially, I'm not in ramp colors. That 2 could be something else. And additionally, you don't have to have that creature survive, which is nice. And also, the creature that's coming in isn't attacking. So if I wanted to bring in a hate bear or something that's like squishier that probably would have died anyways, like maybe like a blood artist, I could.
Yeah, especially because old Alesha only cares about something power 2 or less. So at this point, I think the biggest arguments are you get an extra color, but you have to work with a smaller creature base, but you lose a color and get to big creatures.
Once you get them big enough, yeah. I think I'm on the side right now of I think that the new Alesha is better than the old Alesha. I don't know how y'all think, but
I will only agree as in like it is a 60-40 better. The new Alesha allows for a little bit more openness with your reanimator strategy, whereas the old Alesha still has a wide variety that you can choose from, especially in the colors that you choose, because it's not like you're not going to put any kind of can't be blocked kind of effects in there for some of the creatures that you reanimate, or specifically figure out some of the zero drops that would come in and have way more counters put onto them than what Alesha would usually allow.
there's a lot of ways to work around that, or even some like utility sacrifice creatures you can kind of loop and stuff like that. I think there's a good case for both, but I definitely Lester who laughs at fate, I think, is the best one. And she's getting happier as we go. So you went from smiling to laughing. She's gonna be raffling next.
Specifically, it was who smiles at death, because death can be around every corner and the cons just eat that shit up. This is me being, I'm the baddest bitch on the block. I'm going to laugh at anything you can throw at me, especially after you changed everyone's fate, because that was the last storyline.
In my
Alesha who
mind-
waves at God is the third edition.
Alesha, story-wise, reminds me of a character from StarCraft named Kerrigan. And this is, with your last analogy, Smiles at Death is just her pre-Zerg, and then Laughs at Fate is just reminds me of the speech she gave to the other races as they're like, we're going to fight you. They all team up and she's like, listen, I'm basically Queen Bitch of the Universe. Have at me. Same energy.
We'll move on to the next one here. So the next one is Alenda. Alenda, the Saint of Dusk, or Alenda the Dusk Rose. Alenda, Saint of Dusk, aka New Alenda, is lifelink, hexproof from instants, rude. As long as your life total is greater than your starting life total, Alenda gets +1/+1 and has menace. Alenda gets an additional +5/+5 as long as your life total is at least 10 greater than your starting life total, which we have almost like this lifelinky Voltron thing going on here. And then Alenda the Dusk Rose, aka Old Alenda, 1/1 lifelinker. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Alenda the Dusk Rose. When Alenda dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is Alenda's power. Polar opposite.
It's not so much a polar opposite. It's just completely different strategies. I wouldn't put the poles of going wide versus life gain Voltron.
Yeah, but like for a lot of these commanders, they look different, but they're doing kind of very similar things. But then we're going to have this just Voltron-y badass, and then we want our commander to die, which is two very different things.
Well, especially because it wasn't so much go wide to swing, it was an aristocrat strategy. Because the only reason why Alenda got big was things got sacrificed. So it was a nice big loop. And this was before they changed the death rules in Commander to then make Alenda work. And then her price shot up. And then they reprinted her and it shot back down.
That's usually how it goes. But that was a really good thing that the rules committee did at that time, making it so those kind of things functionally work. That Child of Valar, there was a couple other ones that were like that. But so that was phenomenal. But between these two, hexproof from instance, very interesting. Having the 4/4 versus a 1/1.
It speaks of Emrakul.
So what really weirds me out, hexproof for instance, why no sorcery? Why not just say hexproof? That would have been so much funnier.
Well, see, I think the main reason why they did that is that they couldn't then pull a combat trick unless they had omniscience.
Yeah.
Yes. Removal on other people's turn is normal though, and that bothers me.
Well, and like it's really interesting because a lot of people's removal at this point, like we've kind of evolved into everyone just using instants to take care of things, so you can do it on other people's turns if you need to.
And I think that's the main reason why they added that in, to be a kind of substitute ward, but not be as just good as being hexproof.
We are getting a good slew, one of ETB stuff that can get rid of it. And then, we're getting a lot of like these little enchantments with flash that remove stuff now. So I'll be interested to see if that becomes more of a common occurrence to mitigate against this kind of trend.
I will say, I am shocked you didn't also add Alenda and Azor this list of characters.
Well, that's a combo character.
Yeah, we're just sticking
details.
one for one today for the most part. So we're just kind of
Yeah. It's in the same strain as our next one that we're going to talk about because that one is a better one to make that argument with.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we get lifelink, then she loses it and gains ward 2. And then now she just has hexproof from instance. And if we get a third iteration, it's just going to be like ward 7 and hexproof from something else. Because why not?
Giving it the Vona treatment.
getting that Vona treatment.
Ward enough.
So
Ward enough.
Where do we settle on Alenda here? Which one do you think is better?
Honestly, I'm kind of split. It literally depends on the kind of strategy you're trying to do. Because unlike the other two that we just talked about, a lot of their strategies are pretty similar.
Yeah.
This is one where the strategies diverge, and it's very interesting.
If I think of a reason to have like 99, right? One is more punchy than the other. They both do the lifelink thing, and the dudes she makes have lifelink. So I'm going to look at them both from a gain life standpoint. Yes, I know it's not the original strategy, but that's just my brain looks at, okay, you have lifelink, you get bigger, you make lifelink dudes. The objective is life here. One's got evasion, one's got meanness, also becomes a 10-10.
So that's fair. I am of the thought with this that I really like having the old Alenda over the new Alenda because I really like having a commander with that board wipe insurance. I can build up a disgusting board, and then if we ever get wiped, with the exception of like a farewell or something, I'm going to have this massive army behind. So I think that's a lot more of an interesting route to build. So if I had to pick between the two, because obviously they're very different, and if it was like over a particular archetype, it might change. But I'm more 60-40 towards Alenda Duskrose than Saint of Dusk.
Yeah, I can understand that. I would make the argument of the old one, you can do a weird kind of food chain with it, where you're just doing Phyrexian Altar and keep sacrificing a lot of those dudes just to pay for the commander tax, to then bring her back to do the process all over again.
My only gripe, and this is like a personal gripe, for a card I mentioned, is that I wish the vampire dude she made were also vampire knights.
I mean, they probably should have.
They should have errata it to say vampire knights because it's what their whole thing was. They were all knights.
They were conquistadors.
Yeah. It would make sense, and it would make me enjoy it for Alenda Azor a bit more than I already do.
Speaking of characters that have been printed into the ground and or Oblivion, we have Niv Mizzet. We have Niv Mizzet Visionary, which is the new Niv Mizzet, and we were going to do Perrin, but obviously Perrin is substantially better. Every instant sorcery draws a card, not just yours. Damage all over the place, combos, CDH potential. So we're going to bring it down a little bit to make it a fair fight with Niv Mizzet the Firemind.
And unfortunately, here comes Niv Mizzet Perun with the RKO out of nowhere. By God, that man had a family.
That was a lot.
Yeah, of course it was.
My goodness. All right. Niv Mizzet Visionary is a 4 blue and red, so 6 total. Flying, you have no maximum hand size. It is Dragon Wizard. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you may draw that many cards. Or you could do Niv Mizzet the Firemind. Whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet the Firemind deals 1 damage to any target and has taps and draws a card and is a 4/4 for 6, 2 blue, 2 red. One thing to note, if you're running one of these commanders, you're probably running the other one because they do combo together, which is kind of funny that Niv Mizzet combos with Niv Mizzet.
It's not that funny, though, because of course they do.
There's the galactic multiverse high five. It's great.
The Firemind, the Draco Genius, Perrin, the fact that they're dropping the Wooburg from Niv Mizzet for this as well. Because the last 3 versions of Niv Mizzet have all been Wooburg.
Yeah, I guess maybe they're just kind of going back in time with it at that point. I'm not sure.
No, Niv Mizzet, done with the guild pack. Who wants that bullshit?
What are our thoughts here? I think both of them are very interesting. I'm more intrigued by Niv Mizzet Visionary at this point, just because the newer one we haven't had as much time to test out the spice. But there's still a lot of cool to be had.
Yeah, I think they took away a lot of the combo potential, which was the biggest things for a lot of the Niv Mizzets, especially Perrin. It's the whole reason.
I mean, we do say that, but as far as like a storm/burn deck with this, because like a lightning bolt becomes a draw 3.
I was going to say, we got a wonderful card called Bolt Wave.
Yeah, Bolt Wave.
Lightning bolts each opponent.
So that's a 1 mana draw 9. There's a lot of really gross rates on this. And then you can, if you run into any of Niv Mizzets, then you just combo.
Also, I think this also works as a Tim deck.
Yeah, Tim's would be fantastic. Psychosis Crawler, also really good here.
I'm going to tap this Tim, and this Tim also has draw a card on it.
It would be incredible. I think it's a lot more interesting right now than the other one. But obviously, you have your Curiosity combo loops and things like that with that. Or if you're doing wheels, deals a lot of damage. But I think that Niv Mizzet Visionary, between these two in particular, I think Perrin's a different story. But I think Niv Mizzet at this point is more profitable. I would like to build a deck around this more than I would the other one.
I almost want to make 2.0 version of Wizard's deck that just has all the Nivs in it.
I mean, you could. It's pretty easy to do.
They're still wizards. It still does the thing, and they're flyers.
Yeah, and at that point, you're just going into one of the Wooburg Nivs so that you get more access to wizards.
I kind of like the restriction.
I think it'd be fun. Still doing Wooburg Wizard stuff. Got a ring to it.
Especially
Hear
if you
me
do
out.
the guild Nivs so that every wizard that you pull out is one of the guilds.
Hear me out. We just ignore the legend rule and we go the Grixis
But which
ETB
one?
wizard.
But which one are you building?
Oh, the two of the Visionary.
Doing the Visionary?
One mana, draw 9 cards is very enticing.
It does seem cool. And that doesn't have to be, you could even do like Earthquake effect and just hit everybody. It's cool.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Chandra's Ignition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chandra's Ignition's gonna be real good.
Chandra Ignition, 5 mana, draw 15. Seems good. I like it. Next one. Should you go with Tiny Bones, or Tiny Bones?
Well, let me think about this real quick. Tiny Bones?
Tiny Bones.
No.
Interesting.
It has to be tiny. Tiny bones.
I see. So I think we're all separated on this. We all said Tiny Bones.
What we'll do here is I'm just going to read through each of these. We're going to have the first one, Old Tiny Bones. Second one, Cowboy Tiny Bones. And then we're going to have the new one, which is New Tiny Bones. Old Tiny Bones is Tiny Bones, the Trinket Thief. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discarded a card, you draw a card and lose 1 life. It also has 4, 2 black. Each opponent with no cards in hand loses 10 life. This is 1 in a black and it's a 1/2 creature.
And I've seen the CDH deck with that.
It can absolutely be gross. A lot of card advantage you can make off the discard. Next one, Tiny Bones the Pickpocket. We're going down to 1 black mana instead of 1 in a black. It is a 1/1 with Death Touch for Cowboy Tiny Bones here. Whenever Tiny Bones the Pickpocket deals damage to a player, you may cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard, and mana of any type can be used to cast that spell. So now we're at the point, instead of focusing on the discard, we're going to profit off of what was discarded.
Or just any kind of mill effect too, because it
Mhm.
also doesn't care if it was discarded. It's just the fact that it's in your graveyard.
Or if you blew it up from the field and grabbed it or whatever it might be.
To be fair.
To be fair.
To be fair. They're both rewards for it, because the first Tiny Bones does not have an enabler to make people discard. It just says when they do, get reward. So they both
True.
have that same angle with no initial self-ablers.
And then we have New Tiny Bones, which does have an enablement. So Tiny Bones Bauble Burglar, which is 1 in a black, legendary creature skeleton rogue. Whenever an opponent discards a card, exile it from their grave card with a stash counter on it. During your turn, you may play cards you don't own with stash counters on them from exile. Mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. Also has 3 and a black to tap it. Each opponent discards a card and activate only as a sorcery. It's also a 1/3.
And I saw you struggle on the Bubble Burglar.
I was in my head about it.
I also struggled with it right then and there.
Oh, yeah.
Tiny Bones Bubble Burglar. There we go.
Somebody at Wizards is a bastard.
Tiny Bones Bubble Burglar.
Burglar.
Got him.
Burglar.
Burglar.
It's the Tiny Bones Bubble Burglar.
I'm just generally going to apologize to everyone for listening to that.
I don't.
A media opinion? Bubble Burglar.
Yeah.
That's my pick, because it's the only one that enables itself.
I am also on the Bubble Burglar because that one actively helps steal the things.
It's also a 1/3. Get obliterated.
So it does have a little bit more of an ability to stick around between these three. Like, I'm probably going to all put them in a deck. I've actually got a thought for using it with an Angrath Oathbreaker deck with these, because it has an ability. The +1 is, each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. So you can just profit off of those. But I do think if you're going to build one as a commander, this has been the best one to go and put the other 2 in the 99. So it is impressive that Foundations did create the best Tiny Bones. The other 2 are mythic. This one's a common rare.
I would also just say, currently, nothing is static for long.
That is true. It will get power crept at some point, but the little guy. I'm
Yeah.
going with this new one.
Give it a moment. Eventually, we can have a deck and it's all tiny bones.
Because technically the new Tiny Bones is like Turgid minus.
Honestly, I don't think the new Tiny Bones would get you hated out of a game as much as Turgid would.
Incorrect. It's still discarding people's cards. And I think that's worse than milling because it means that you don't get anything. Because usually if you were milling, you could use the cards in your hand to try and mitigate that a bit. Discard? That's just going to keep happening every turn and it's just going to get worse and worse.
I just need to point this out to everybody. I was curious about this because of the way Fibblethip and Loot have been treated. If you go to ultrapro.com for $19.99, they do have a Tiny Bones little dice bag plushie.
People love Tiny Bones.
I'm hyped.
You know,
That's amazing.
reading each of these tiny bones, the more I read them, the more I think this would make, for me at least, and not my opponents, this would make such a wonderful two-headed giant commander. Because it's only opponents, so I only trip them up. My teammate gets to have all the fun still.
Imagine almost hammering like a double Tiny Bones or discard combo. You have 2 decks, but you're in top deck.
Now,
mode.
hear me out. For one of these conventions, and hopefully they're not listening to me create this idea on the fly. And or if they are, they're going to see us and I'm going to watch them turn pale and I'm going to know why. We run a Turgid Tiny Bones combo, two-headed giant. Just mono black evil.
That Tiny Bones is likely not to get anything?
No, but it immediately enables. And they
Yeah.
can do it roughly the same turn.
I mean, I was thinking like chiller than that, but gee, I was just going to do Nath. The end of your upkeep, you may have target opponent discard a card at random. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you make a 1/1 green elf creature token.
You know what, though? I would be down to do that for two-headed giant. That with Tiny Bones. I'm okay with being more chill than Turgid.
Well, I mean, it also doesn't step over each other's toes because that one just makes dudes off of the discard, whereas Tiny Bones says, I get to use that now, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Unless it's a discards a card exile from the graveyard. So it's not a replacement instead. Like that discard does happen. So could be something.
We should do that. That'd be fun.
Could be something.
Watch out, everybody
I
else.
can dig it. Everybody else?
I'm a
Everybody else. I'm not facing you.
Get these hands because you're not going to have one.
That's got to be the name of the deck combo. Levi, please, let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
Look out, Vegas. Here comes Tiny Bones.
See, I'm a menace. Y'all are menaces.
I prefer the term the final boss.
No, I will not grant that to you.
Wow. Looks like someone's getting these hands first.
And we'll leave that as a cliffhanger for next time. And of course, this is all the time we have. So I've been Levi.
I'm Jacoby.
And I'm Joe.
And this has been the Thought Vessel Show. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all have a good day.
Take care.